Okay, today we're tackling one of history's most, well, explosive events, the French Revolution. This was a time of pure chaos, of massive, radical change, and believe me, it completely reshaped our ideas about government and human rights.
So it really all boils down to this one huge question. How does a whole country, after centuries of doing things one way, just rise up and overthrow their king? To get that, we've got to look at what was bubbling just under the surface.
All right, our first stop, France on the brink. We're talking about a kingdom on the very verge of collapse. Think of it this way. Before the revolution blew up, the whole country was a powder keg. And we're about to see exactly what lit the fuse.
So, before 1789, you had this guy, King Louis XVI, and France was what's called an absolute monarchy. That means his power was, well, absolute, total, no questions asked. His word was law. This system had been around for centuries, but, cracks were starting to show.
And this table, wow, this really shows you how incredibly unfair French society was. It was split into three groups, the three estates. So you have the first and second estates, that's the clergy and the nobles. Together, they're like less than 3% of everyone. And guess what? They had all the privileges and paid basically zero taxes. Meanwhile, the third estate, that's literally everyone else, 97% of the country, they were stuck paying for everything. I mean, come on, a system like that, it's just not going to last.
And it wasn't just one thing. It was this perfect storm of problems. You've got the country being totally broke from fighting wars. You've got people literally starving because the price of bread was so high. And all the while, the third estate is getting crushed under a mountain of taxes. But then, on top of all that, you have these brand new ideas from the Enlightenment floating around. Ideas about liberty and equality. Ideas that started making people ask, hey, why does a king get to rule us anyway? Shouldn't power come from us, the people?
And that brings us right here. The revolution ignites. We're talking about 1789, the year that changed everything. All that pressure we just talked about, well, it finally blew. And when it did, things changed so fast it would make your head spin.
Just look at how fast this all happened. In May, the king calls a meeting trying to fix the financial mess. A month later, in June, the third estate says, no, we're done, and declares they're the real government now, the National Assembly. Then, boom, July 14th, the people storm the Bastille. And by August, they've written this radical new document about the rights of man. It wasn't just a few protests, it was a total political tidal wave.
And let's talk about the Bastille, because this was huge. It wasn't just some battle. This fortress was a terrifying symbol of the king's power to just lock people up and throw away the key. So when the people of Paris physically tore it down, brick by brick, it was this massive symbolic act. It was them screaming to the world, the king's power over us is shattered.
And this quote, this gets right to the heart of what they were fighting for. Men are born and remain free and equal in rights. I mean, you have to understand how totally radical this was at the time. The idea that your rights don't come from some king or even from God, but that you're just born with them, that was a bombshell. This was the blueprint for a whole new world.
But the story is far from over, and it takes a dark turn. Our next section, From Republic to Terror. This is where we see how the revolution, in trying to save itself, became incredibly violent. It's often called the time the revolution devours its children, and you're about to see why.
So, the first huge move in this new phase happens in 1792. The revolutionaries go all in. They completely abolish the monarchy, gone, and declare that France is now a republic. For the first time, it's a nation supposed to be ruled by its people, not a king.
And then, this, the moment of no return. In 1793, they execute the king, King Louis XVI, killed in public by the guillotine. Can you imagine the shockwaves this sent across Europe? It was the ultimate, bloody statement. There is no going back. The old world is dead.
What came next is probably one of the most infamous periods in all of history, the Reign of Terror. You had guys like Maximilien Robespierre in charge, and their thinking was, we have to protect this revolution from all its enemies, inside and out. And their main tools for protecting it? Fear and the guillotine.
And the human cost was just staggering. Thousands of people. And we're not just talking about nobles. We're talking about anyone, regular, ordinary citizens who were even suspected of being disloyal. All of them executed, most by that terrifyingly efficient new machine, the guillotine.
So after all that chaos, all that instability, how does it end? Well, in 1799, a super ambitious general, you might have heard of him, Napoleon Bonaparte, he just seizes power in a coup d'etat. That's basically a swift military takeover. He brought order, for sure, but he also ended up creating an empire. So the revolution itself was over, but its ideas, they were just getting started.
Okay, so you might be thinking, if the revolution just ended with another powerful guy taking over for the king, what was the point? Why are we still talking about it more than 200 years later? Well, in our final section, we're going to see how the legacy of 1789 truly shaped the modern world. The impact was, honestly, enormous. For starters, it completely smashed France's old feudal system, that super rigid social ladder. But bigger than that, its ideals of liberty and democracy spread like wildfire, not just in Europe, but all over the world. It inspired so many other revolutions. It fundamentally changed how we think about what a government should be, what it means to be a citizen, and what rights every human deserves.
And you can still see that legacy alive today, right? That moment we talked about, the storming of the Bastille, that powerful act of defiance, well, every single year on July 14th, France celebrates it. It's their national holiday, Bastille Day.
So that leaves us with a really tough question to chew on. On the one hand, the French Revolution gave the world these incredible ideals of freedom and equality that we still cherish. But on the other hand, it came at the cost of so much violence, so much terror. Which makes you wonder, was all that bloodshed a necessary price for liberty?